Hi, Martin Roberts here. Welcome to another of my DIY projects. Just to remind you to like this video and also subscribe to Martin Roberts Property Titbits, where there's going to be lots more of these DIY project ideas for you over the coming days, weeks and months. And just to remind you what I'm trying to do this for is to try and to inspire you that maybe with stuff you've got lying around the house or the garden or the shed or the garage or whatever, we can make things that we would otherwise have to buy. But also it's more than that. It's about being creative and that feeling of when you've created something, even if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter. You made it and that makes you feel good. And at the moment, I think more than ever, we need to do little things that make us feel good. And if you can at the end of the day say, I built that, I constructed that, I repaired that, I fixed that, I think that's really good for positive mental health. So what is this project all about? Well, I don't know about you, but I really love my gardening, and I've been down to luckily the local supermarket where they've actually, so it's not a garden centre, but they've actually started selling a few plants. So we got geraniums there and sweet williams and trailing fuchsias. And rather than hanging baskets, because I couldn't buy any, big bags of compost, they had these. Now I could use theoretically the compost is in there to put in my hanging baskets, but it just gave me an idea. Why don't I try and create something which can actually go around a grow bag and just make it look nice. Now these things are unbelievably ugly, aren't they? But they do a very, very good job. So all I'm going to do in this particular project is try and create a planter for me plants, which is about the size of a grow bag. Now, it doesn't have to be the size of a grow bag. It could be any size, obviously. So you can make it whatever size you like. But I'm going to make it the size of a grow bag. And I don't have to put a grow bag in it, but I think that's quite a nice size anyway to have a kind of planter. Now, my wife would say that I'm a hoarder and I collect rubbish. She's probably right. But at times like this, it doesn't have to come in handy. This is an offcut from my local sawmill, okay? And I obviously picked this up before all the situation we're in now happened. It's actually the cut off from, imagine a sort of the main tree trunk. In order to make it square, they'll chop off the edges, obviously, to create like a big square log thing, which they can then cut into planks. And these bits are just literally scrap. So there was a big pile of them, and I said, what's that stuff there? So, no, it's just offcuts. So I said, well, do you want them? I said, well, yeah, you can have them. So I gave them a couple of quid, put it into the charity box, and took as much of this as I could carry. Well, it's really great timber. It's weathered, it's dried, matured, seasoned. That was the word. Seasoned. Not exactly salt and pepper, is it? But I think this will be ideal. So my thought was to create an edge to this bag, like that, and like that, to have kind of like a rustic looking planter. Now I've also got these bits which are wood that, again, it's an offcut, and this is actually stuff called sterling board, and it's quite interesting. It's sort of bits of shaved timber which they glue together with high strength glue. It's really, really strong. In fact, you can get stuff like this which is actually waterproof. So I'm going to just use this stuff, which isn't necessarily that waterproof, but I'm going to paint it. So I reckon if we create a base out of that, just a simple base like that, and then put our other stuff around the edge, we will have ourselves a pretty neat planter. So what do we need for this job? Not a lot, actually. Always, of course, we've got our safety kit, we've got goggles, we've got gloves, and we've got a mask if we need it. Although I think we'll just be needing the goggles on this particular occasion. We've got a trusty tape measure. We got our screws, we got our set of drills, and I just have a simple set like this. And this has got everything you might need in all in one place, from the screw bits to the drills themselves. I've got an electric drill, and I've got a screwdriver. I've got a saw. I've also got an electric circular saw, but obviously you're gonna have to be very careful when you're using that. But that's it. So it's not a complicated job. So let's just get on with it, shall we? So let's just create our space. Oh, the other thing I didn't say, I've also got some simple metal brackets. So the first thing obviously I need to do is I need to measure the bag. So the internal size of this has got to be 30 centimetres by 85 centimetres. So I want to give it a bit more than that, don't I? So I think I'm going to make this base 92 centimetres by 35. 92 by 35, write that down. So, first thing I'm going to do is create a base. So basically, I need some pieces of this. That looks like it'll probably be enough. You know what, I'm going to make life easier for myself. I'm going to say 39. because that's what that is. I can't be bothered cutting it all the way down. What was the other measurement? 92. So line those all up at one end, mark 92. Remember, the first rule of cutting things is measure twice, cut once. Here's a tip. Did you know that an average saw like this isn't just a saw? You can actually use it as a 90-degree measure, because when they put these things in there, that metal surface there and the back of the saw here are at 90 degrees. So if I line up my saw on the edge like that, I can actually draw a line which is completely at 90 degrees. Isn't that clever? I don't know how I found that out. So there you go. So I've measured that. Now the next thing I need to do is I'm going to create a sort of strong base. So I'm going to need 3 pieces of wood at that length. So, you know, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you can just do it empirically. Okay, that's the length, that's there. And then there. Oh, would you look at that? I love it when that happens. Almost no wasted timber. So again, using my handy whatnot, just going to go across there, go across there, there. So now all I've got to do is cut those bits and off we go. So that is those cut, these bits cut as well. A few damaged plants in the process, which is a bit ironic, but let's not worry about it. Oh, I know why I didn't do that. There's always one. Now the great thing about this kind of construction is it's pretty rough and ready. It doesn't matter. Now I want to pick a screw that's long enough to go through there. Right, so there you go. That is our base. And the nice thing is, it's a little bit off the ground. So even if we didn't waterproof this, which we will, at least the water isn't getting to it. So that's the base. So now all we have to do, theoretically, is choose our bits of this timber and we're going to attach it like that on the edge. I quite like the idea that it's going to go all the way to the ground. Now the only issue we've got here is that it's got a wibbly wobbly edge, but I don't care. That's part of the charm, right? So I want it to go on the ground like that. I'm going to measure the lengths that I need with my pencil. Oh, don't you hate when you lose your pencil? Oh, here it is. This piece is going to be exactly this length, and then the 2 edge pieces I'll overlap. So that I'm going to make sure is exactly the same length. Handy thing. You're going to have to sort of make sure it looks roughly right. So that's one. Now I'm going to pick another piece of wood for the other edge. So let's try and have this bit here. You see this has been lying in my back garden for quite a while. It's even come to its very own collection of slugs and wood lice. Sorry. Yeah, I know. Okay, well look, I'm sure you'll make your own home in a little bit. That length there. So I think we should do this sort of as we go along. I don't want that to tip. So I'm going to just put that on there to hold it. Here we go. Oh, rather, making a mistake once is okay, but as Einstein says, making the same mistake twice is a sign of extreme stupidity. That's one side. Now I could, of course, use a clamp, but that's in the shed and I can't be bothered to go and get it. So we've got 2 sides, which are going to go on there like that, and like that. So now we need to measure to overhang this. Often with this kind of stuff, it's getting your measurements right. Where did I learn to put things down in the same place? So you could plan all you like for this particular thing, but I'd rather just do it on location, and here I am. 47 centimetres on that side, 47. So let's just do it one at a time. And now the other thing I'm going to do, just a bit of a tip, I'm going to mark the sides. So that's A, that's B, that's C, and that's D. And I know that that is piece A, and I'm going to also mark up, and I'm going to mark up on that, and that is B. So that just, I know then how to put it back together again. So I'm going to do this on there, on there. You could even just do it, measuring it empirically, just chop it like that. Okay, so that is going to be C, and that's up. I need one more piece for the other end, so we will take a bit out of this one. Yeah. This is the bit, obviously if you've got an assistant, it'd be really nice for them to help at this particular juncture, but I haven't, so I'm making this up as I go along. I'm doing it on my own. So we're going to be about there. And look, I'm not making fine furniture. I'm sure that Chippendale is turning in his grave right now, but frankly, I don't think Chippendale ever made planters. Well, I know he might have done to start off with, I suppose. That doesn't seem right. It's a bit short. Oh, no. Right, so we have all our 4 parts. We just need to label this one D, although it's pretty obvious. D that way up. So now I've got to start putting it together. So what I'm going to do to start off with is I'm just going to try and make it sort of fit. So using some slightly longer screws, I'm just going to put a few screws in the bottom here to hold it in place. Now, whenever you're drilling or screwing near an edge on any piece of wood, you want to drill what's called pilot holes in there, which will just then provide a guide for the screws I'm going to put in. But all I want to do right now is get it sort of roughly sitting in a place. So it just holds it in place. Now, this is not to provide strength, this is just to create a shape. So again, get a couple in. So that now fits in there, like that, and same thing again. It's stuff for the garden, who cares? It's going to look rustic and it's going to do the job. And that's all that matters in this particular instance. It's about horses for courses. It's about doing the minimum that's necessary to do the job properly and not wasting hours fiddling around with stuff that really there is no point. 3 sides, you know, and for good luck we can even put a few in there like that. Let's stick a big one in there. It's actually pretty good. Okay, well actually, you know what, I'm surprising myself here. I've got a feeling that because this timber actually is even more strong than I thought it was, I thought I was going to have to use brackets to hold it together, but I don't think I will, you know. And that's the other thing about DIY. You start with one plan, and then it's really important that you adapt if you need to. In this case, this adaptation might save me a lot of effort. So that is going to go on there, like so. That's tight. Wow, that's tight. Tight or perfectly designed. I'll run with perfectly designed. Okay, let's get one end in. There's a bit of a gap, so I'm using a slightly longer screw there. Right, it's massive, this. And just a couple along the length. Ouch. It's quite difficult to see with this rustic stuff in it. Right, originally my plan was to use brackets in all the corners to strengthen this. And that is something you might consider. But I reckon that that is actually heavy, but good. So all I need to do now is get my grow bag, and the job's a good one. But how good does that look? How much nicer does that look? That is something which you could potentially fill with compost. You don't need to use a grow bag. There's lots of space for your plants in that. And realistically, that's taken me 15 minutes. That is the DIY project for you, with stuff that was just lying around. Make sure you like the video, make sure that you subscribe to Martin Roberts Property Titbits for more property DIY advice, behind the scenes from Homes Under the Hammer, some property experts who I'll be talking to as well, and I'll be back with more stuff like this to hopefully keep you entertained and keep you occupied. Bye from me. Just going to use some Danish oil in the bottom just to give it a bit of protection. I love Danish oil, it's amazing. It just provides that little bit of protection. Now you could clearly paint this, tar even, whatever, but I reckon that is going to do for me. In goes the grow bag.